Okay, welcome, folks. We have a pretty lengthy voting session, and we will begin with House Bill 39, and there are amendments, and that is Delegate Vogel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 39, as introduced, would have required a publicly traded corporation filing a Maryland corporate income tax return to include, with the return, a confidential statement identifying the corporation's effective tax rate, among other information. There are two amendments. The amendments strike the filing requirements for publicly traded corporations proposed by the bill, and instead require the comptroller to submit an annual report to the governor and the General Assembly regarding the number of publicly traded corporations that paid no state income taxes for the immediately preceding taxable year. I move the amendments.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the amendment passes. Is there a motion on the bill? Move favor. Any discussion? Delegate Buckle.
Just very briefly want to indicate we appreciate the amendments, which we think remove a lot of the concerns raised by both the accounting community and the business community, but I still think myself and many others will vote against the bill because at the end of the day, I think it will produce a data set that does not actually reveal anything of significance. It is not terribly significant that a corporation may not pay zero tax dollars to the state of Maryland if indeed that corporation in fact has employed dozens, hundreds, thousands of people, has made millions, tens of millions of dollars investment, pays property taxes and other things in the state. They are subject to quite a variety of costs and of contributing to our overall welfare. So for that reason, I appreciate the intent of the amendments in the bill, but I just don't think that the bill really is going to accomplish anything of meaning. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the bill? Okay, seeing none, I will do a roll call. House Bill 39, favorable as amended. The Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson?
Yes.
Delegate Buckle?
No.
Delegate Charles? Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Delegate Fair?
Yes.
Delegate Long?
No.
Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North?
Yes.
Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel?
Yes.
Delegate Wu?
Yes.
Delegate Hartman is not here. Delegate Griffith?
No.
Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich-Carr? Yes. Delegate Barnes?
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark?
Yes.
And the bill passes favorably as amended. House Bill 119, and there are amendments. 1 second, please. So, House Bill 119, as amended, strikes the bill in its entirety and replaces the bill with basically a scheme that punishes, oh God, one of my kids is calling me, that punishes bad actors, essentially. So it requires each school board or each local jurisdiction to follow the health education framework as set out by the state superintendent in the Maryland State Department of Education. If they don't, if the state superintendent determines that they are not following that, then they will receive a notice that they need to come into compliance. If they do not come into compliance within 30 days, then the state superintendent can request that the comptroller send a notice saying that if you do not come into compliance, we shall withhold 10% of your funding to the county. And then if they do not comply within 60 days, then the same process and 10% more can be withheld. And their funding shall be restored once they have complied with the health education framework as set out by the Maryland State Department of Education. Those are the amendments. I move the amendments. Is there any discussion on the amendments? Delegate Buckle.
I had a question. So when you said if they don't come into compliance, they'll have a 10%, and I'm reading from page 3 of the amendments. It says from the county board, 10% of the funds budgeted by the state for the current fiscal year, and then 10%. Is that 10% of all funds from the state of Maryland just to the county board of education that they get funded, or are there carve-outs for that, or? I'm just a little confused because I think there's a variety of state programs that fund boards of education, and some of the, and Alistair may know better than me, do some of the monies ever go to the actual county as opposed to the county board of education, or is it all directed to the board itself?
It's all the money that goes to the county board itself. So if there's a program, sometimes federal funding might go directly to a school, or some other program might go directly to a school or something. That money is not touched, but any money that is budgeted by the state for the county board of education will be withheld.
So that would include, for example, the additional funds under the Kerwin blueprint that may be used to increase educator salaries and things, we would withhold that 10%?
Yes, sir.
Delegate Grossman.
Thank you. And this may be beyond the scope of the amendment, but I just wanted to ask for some clarity. So who would be monitoring if the school boards are or are not upholding the framework? Who would do that reporting?
The state superintendent of schools is monitoring it. So if they feel that they're not in compliance, then they send a notice to that local jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. Delegate
Miller.
And this only applies to the framework.
Correct.
And
Oh, no. Well, currently they already have the ability. The state superintendent already has the ability to withhold funds, but I'm going to let Alistair speak.
right.
It applies to all of the state board curricula and guidance for instruction in public schools, not just the health curriculum, but every curriculum. So
So it was amended to say it applies to every curriculum now. They have the force of law because it was always like a
they've always been required to follow the guidance, but it was optional up to the state superintendent how he was going to enforce that, whether he was going to withhold funds. This requires him to withhold funds.
from whatever area that's been put into law.
Anything that the state board of education adopts as curricular guidance must be taught in each school in the state.
Okay. And and then that's on top of the percentages that the AIB can withhold for not following the blueprint with fidelity.
Yeah, the AIB automatically withholds 25% of funds, and of the new funds, not of all funds, but of funds that were created and given to county boards under the Chapter 36, the Blueprint for Maryland's Future from 2021. And those funds are released when school systems are in compliance with the blueprint. So in addition to those funds, under current law, the state superintendent may withhold any funds anytime there's a violation of any provision of the education article or any regulations adopted under it. This is just specifying in this particular instance, he must withhold funds at this particular rate.
And then that timing, and I apologize for question, I'm like literally just getting this amendment. So the timing of the 30-day, so that would mean, like, how is that normally done with like the state superintendent? Like when they normally bring back, is that usually the next fiscal year? Because, you know, that
Normally, when the state superintendent does choose to withhold funds, it normally begins immediately, and it is school systems, I believe, get their funds allocated every month, and whatever rate the state superintendent chooses to withhold funds at, they're withheld in distribution that month.
would that null and void contracts?
I don't believe so.
Contracts are funding dependent usually, and so if that funding were taken away and you had less money as a school system per monthly, then would they be able to do an emergency reduction in salaries?
I'm not totally sure how it works normally under, it's not frequently used, but I think that might be the way that it flows
Okay.
through.
When was the last time it was used, or how often has it been used?
The last time it was used was a few years ago. State Superintendent Salmon withheld funds from 2 counties for not completing their student count in time. It was withheld for 1 month and then released after the county boards complied.
And it's never been used for compliance with curriculum?
I
has it?
believe that the current superintendent put in place the motion to start doing it, but did not need to continue to go through with it.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Wu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So is there any appeal process for the school system? Because that can be immediately impact the school operation, right? If you're holding funds, that's huge significance.
It's possible. I think that the students are impacted if they are not being taught the state curricula as well.
Because I'm concerned about if there's a disagreement between the school board and the superintendent, right? I hope there will be a kind of holding period before they actually cut the funding to school.
There's a 30-day period in which, after the superintendent is given notice, they have 30 days to rectify the discrepancy, and hopefully during that time the discrepancy will be rectified, and therefore there will not be a need to actually withhold the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Eversole.
Madam Chair, the funds, if they were withheld, they would be fully restored upon compliance. It wasn't as if the school system would have lost that money permanently. Am I right? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Delegate Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my question, that what I'm trying to wrap my brain around, is say the school system is frustrated with, you know, the math curriculum or the English curriculum, right? And, you know, and they're falling short, they're not implementing or able to implement for whatever reason. The remedy to that is, you know, a school system that's falling short, the remedy is to take more money away from them. I'm trying to square that.
I think the difference is it's not a school system that's falling short. It's a school system that is flat out refusing to comply with the framework that, quite frankly, they've agreed to. So, you know, we all know what I was trying to get at was this health framework. And when I was reading the health framework today, here's just every jurisdiction participated in the makeup of this framework. So, I mean, Howard County, Prince George's, Baltimore City, Frederick County, Anne Arundel, Allegheny, Charles, the Eastern Shore, Baltimore County, Montgomery, Calvert, the city, I mean, every single county, Talbot, Frederick, Carroll, Hartford, Garrett. You know, I'm not going to read them all. And then there's a bunch of other, you know, hospitals and this expert and that expert and universities. So you've already sat down in the jurisdictions and agreed to doing this. The state is not being heavy-handed and telling you what to do, because we all want locals to do what they want to do. So they're just saying you have to follow this framework. So this is really, you know, saying if you're going to just completely not comply with what you've already agreed to, then yeah, then there is going to be some sort of ramification. And we're going to give you time to rectify that. But it's up to the locals to come up with the curriculum within that framework and to implement it.
I guess and only because I haven't had a chance to read the amendments. That's one reason I have questions. If I had a chance to dive in, I wouldn't have as many questions. So thanks for the latitude. I guess, what is the benchmark? Like, how do we measure that? Is it straight the superintendent's determination? Is he judge and jury, and he doesn't have any metrics necessarily have to follow? He can just say, oh, I don't think you're following the framework, so boom, taking 10%. I mean, is that basically it? I think we need to have a little more guidance, because, I mean, on the judiciary, the term that always rings in my head is, we don't want the judiciary to interpret the will of the General Assembly. So do we want the superintendent to interpret the will of the General Assembly here, or do we want to give clear guidance of exactly what does that mean?
So he already has the latitude to do that now.
Okay.
So this isn't new.
I would suggest that this is actually giving him a little bit more guidance. Right now, he could, if he chose to, withhold funding, 100% of funding if a county board was in violation of something. This is putting a framework of, it's 10% and then an additional 10%. So it's a little bit more clarity than under current law.
I would just like to see a mechanism other than taking money away from schools. I guess that's my position. I understand we got to enforce the law, and I support that, but I think I would just like to have seen something other than taking money away. So thank you very much. I
So
appreciate
just
it.
to be clear, there already is a mechanism where he can take 100% of funding away from schools currently. That is the current law. Delegate Long.
Yes, ma'am, I just want to make sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So they can, it's a may right now, but with this new legislation, they have to, or shall. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on the amendment? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call on the amendment as favorable. So if you're in favor of the amendment, it's a yes. The chair, yes. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Eversole? Yes. Delegate Patterson? Yes. Delegate Buckle? Delegate Charles? Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Yes. Delegate Fair? Yes. Delegate Long? Yes. Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Yes. Delegate Grossman? Yes. Delegate Vogel? Yes. Delegate Wu? Yes. Delegate Hartman is not here. Delegate Griffith? Delegate Attar? Yes. Delegate Plakovich Carr? Yes. Delegate Barnes? Yes. Delegate Feldmark? Yes. The amendment passes as favorable. I move the bill as amended.
Second.
Any discussion on the underlying bill as amended? Okay, roll call on the bill as amended, as favorable. The chair, yes. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson?
Yes.
Delegate Buckle? No. Delegate Charles? Oh, he just stepped out, okay. Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Delegate Fair? Yes. Delegate Long? No. Delegate Miller? No. Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Yes. Delegate Wu? Yes. Delegate Hartman? Is not here. Delegate Griffith? No. Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich Carr? Yes. Delegate Barnes? Yes. Delegate Feldmark? Yes. The bill passes favorably as amended. House Bill 180. And that is, who's the leader on that?
Delegate Barnes.
Okay, Delegate Barnes.
So House Bill 180 increases the value of the income tax subtraction modification for the adoption of a child. Specifically for a taxpayer who adopts a child with a special need, the value of the subtraction increases to $12,000. For a taxpayer who adopts a child without a special needs, the value of the subtraction increases to $10,000. These values are without regard to whether the child is a state resident at the time of adoption. Move the bill.
Any discussion on the bill? Okay, I don't believe we need a roll call on this. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the chair is a yes on that as well. Okay, House Bill 180 passes as favorable. House Bill 191. Delegate Wells.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So House Bill 191 is, the bill requires an addition and modification under the personal and corporate income tax for the amount of trade or business expenses paid or incurred during the taxable year that are deducted in accordance with Section 162F of the Internal Revenue Code relating to fines, penalties, and other amounts. The bill takes effect July 1, 2023 and applies to tax year 2023 and beyond, and there are no amendments.
Okay, any discussion on the bill? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call on this one. House Bill 191 as favorable. The Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson?
Yes.
Delegate Buckle? No. Delegate Charles? Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Delegate Fair? Delegate Long? Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Delegate Wu? Delegate Griffith? Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich Carr? Delegate Barnes? Delegate Feldmark? House Bill 191 passes as favorable. House Bill 192, and there are amendments. Who's that?
It's me.
Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 192, cryptocurrency campaign finance prohibitions, disclosures by financial institutions. This bill prohibits making campaign contributions or expenditures using cryptocurrency. That's what the bill did as introduced. The amendment sort of flipped the bill in a way, and it clarifies that monetary contributions or expenditures from campaigns must use United States currency. I move the subcommittee amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendments pass. Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the bill as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Bill passes favorably as amended. House Bill 206, and there are amendments. Delegate Plakovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As introduced, the bill expands eligibility for the Pre-K Expansion Grant Program and publicly funded pre-K under the Blueprint for Maryland's Future to include Montessori schools. As amended, this bill alters the student-to-classroom personnel ratio and staff qualifications for Montessori schools to participate in those programs. If a Montessori school has a student who is at least 5 years old, the student-to-staff ratio is 14:1, with a maximum of 28 students in the classroom. Additionally, the amendment clarifies that Montessori teachers must hold a bachelor's degree. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the amendments passed. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, all in favor of the bill as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. House Bill 206 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 235, and there are amendments. Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 235 extends the period of time after a tax sale during which the property owner may redeem the property without having to pay any expenses of the purchaser. The amendments extend the period of time during which owner-occupied properties may be redeemed without paying the purchaser's expenses to 7 months, limit the bill only to owner-occupied property, prohibit a tax sale purchaser from beginning foreclosure proceedings for owner-occupied property until 9 months after a tax sale, and require that certain notice sent to an owner of an owner-occupied property purchased at tax sale be sent at least 7 months after the tax sale. Move the amendments.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, discussion of the amendments. Delegate Buckle.
I had a question. I should know this, but I've forgotten. You said that we're now going to extend the time that the tax sale certificate purchaser can initiate the foreclosure proceeding. You said until 9 months after the date of the tax sale, the date that they acquire the certificate?
Right. So the bill extends the period within which the owner can redeem without paying any of the expenses, right? And the notice has to go out 2 months before they can foreclose, and they won't send the notice until they can incur the expenses of running a title search. So it stacks up to 9 months.
9 months. Is it currently 6 months now? They can't send the notice out for 4 months?
Currently it's 4 months without expenses, and then that results in 6 months.
What happens to the accrued taxes on the property during this? We're getting to almost a year where the tax, I've seen situations where the tax sale certificate purchaser then is put in a position of, do they have to go back and pay the taxes? An entire year is accrued, they've gotten a new tax notice, the person who owns it is the legal title owner, maybe like, hey, I'm never going to redeem, I don't care, I've moved on, whatever it may be. Is there any provision in the law for that, for the accounting of that?
I believe the taxes that continue to accrue are part of the expenses to redeem.
To redeem.
Right.
But if they don't, okay. All right, thank you, I appreciate your answer. I mean, that's my only concern is that I know we've made a ton of efforts here to extend the tax sales, but in the real practicality of the word, I mean, we've extended it out for so long that I'm just concerned that there'll be collateral consequences from the length of time, so I appreciate that.
I can appreciate that, Delegate. I do think it's important to clarify that we did work with the tax sale participants on this amendment, and in restricting it to owner-occupied properties only, that addressed a good bit of their concern, and the increase from 6 months to 7 months was actually at their suggestion, just to be consistent with what's already in place in Baltimore City. So they're already working with that system, so I think that's important to note.
Off to sort of limit the properties, the ones that we're most concerned about, where owners may have a viable chance to go in and redeem and they want to stay in their house. If we've limited to that and the trade-off was allowing for a little bit lengthier period, but it limited the class, and the tax sale certificate purchasers thought that was fine, then it's not my business to say that maybe they're wrong. That sounds fine. Thank you.
And if I may, Madam Chair, just one clarification, because for anyone who is on the subcommittee or may have followed the subcommittee discussion, there was conversation about amending the bill to include Talbot County, which is the one county that doesn't already have the 4-month period. We did hear back from Talbot County that they did not want to be included at this time, so we did not add them to the amendment.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call on the amendment as favorable. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Eversole?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson? Yes. Delegate Buckle?
Yes.
Delegate Charles? Yes. Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Yes. Delegate Fair? Yes. Delegate Long? Yes. Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Yes. Delegate Wu? Yes. Delegate Hartman is not here, sorry. Delegate Griffith? Yes. Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich-Carr? Yes. Delegate Barnes? Yes. Delegate Feldmark? Yes. And the amendment passes as favorable. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Any discussion on the bill as amended as favorable? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call on the favorable. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Eversole?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson? Yes. Delegate Buckle? Yes. Delegate Charles? Yes. Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Yes. Delegate Fair? Yes. Delegate Long? Yes. Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Yes. Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Delegate Wu? Yes. Delegate Hartman? Delegate Griffith? Yes. Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich-Carr? Yes. Delegate Barnes? Yes. Delegate Feldmark? Yes. And House Bill 235 passes favorable as amended. House Bill 243, and there are amendments. Delegate Plakovich-Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As amended, this bill moves the Baltimore City Young Readers Program and the Young Readers Matching Grant Program from the Division of Children and Youth of the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services into the Maryland State Library Agency. The annual budget appropriation for the matching grant program is increased by $100,000. The amendments also remove a requirement that came in the bill as introduced, that the matching grant program prioritize children in low-income zip codes and makes technical changes. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendments signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, the amendments passed. Motion on the bill as amended. Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, I'm not going to do a roll call. All in favor of the bill as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And House Bill 243 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 266, and there are amendments. Delegate Plakovich-Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As amended, this bill requires each county board of education and authorizes each non-public school to establish a policy for the administration of bronchodilators, aka inhalers, to students before the 2024-2025 school year. Each school must have an inhaler in stock and administer it to any student who has been diagnosed with asthma or reactive airway disease and has a prescription for a bronchodilator. A school nurse or other designated school personnel may administer the inhaler. Each public school must submit to MSDE a report on the use of bronchodilators stored at the school each year. Finally, MSDE and the Department of Health must update the joint guidelines on the management of students with asthma and include in those guidelines guidance on distinguishing between students with asthma or reactive airway disease and those experiencing anaphylaxis. The amendments also repeal the bill's provisions on anaphylaxis. Not repeals, removes from the bill, I'm sorry. Remove the amendments.
Okay, any discussion on the amendments? All in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendments pass as favorable. Motion on the bill is amended. Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, no roll call, folks. All in favor of the bill as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. House Bill 266 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 320, Delegate Ebersol.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 320 adds student disability data by specific disability category to the data collected, analyzed, and reported by the Maryland Longitudinal Data Systems Center. Move the bill.
Any discussion on the amendments?
There are no amendments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion on the bill? Okay, I am going to do a roll call on this one. On the favorable, Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol.
Yes.
Delegate Patterson.
Yes.
Delegate Buckle.
I know what the longitudinal data system will evolve through.
Right. I know too. I'm all.
Delegate Charles. Delegate Hornberger. Delegate Wells. Delegate Fair. Delegate Long. Delegate Miller. Delegate Henson. Delegate Muir-Q North. Delegate Grossman. Delegate Vogel. Delegate Wu. Delegate Griffith. Delegate Attar. Delegate Plakovich Carr. Delegate Barnes. Delegate Feldmark. House Bill 320 passes as favorable. House Bill 343, and there are amendments. Delegate Ebersol.
Madam Chair, this bill sets public school basketball schedule of 22 games for teams that do not play in a tournament, and 20 for those teams that do play in a tournament of up to 4 games. That's 24 games. County boards of education have the discretion to authorize teams to play in tournaments, as well as showcase games, including outside of the basketball season. There are amendments. An amendment adds the prohibition against disciplining a student for not participating in a game or practice that occurs outside of the regular season. Move the amendment.
Any discussion on the amendment? Okay, all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Okay, the amendments pass. Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable, Madam Chair.
Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, on the favorable as amended, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. House Bill 343 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 346.
The bill makes the $250,000 distribution from the state unclaimed property fund by the comptroller to the tax clinic for low-income Maryland fund permanent beginning in fiscal year 2024. Move the bill.
Any discussion on the bill or on the amendments? Oh, there's no amendments. Sorry, I'm skipping forward. Any discussion on the bill? Okay, no roll call on this one. All in favor of House Bill 346, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. House Bill 346 passes favorably. House Bill 410, and there are amendments on this one. Madam Vice Chair.
Madam Chair, we actually had to hold this bill,
Okay.
and we didn't vote it in subcommittee, so if we can hold this one, please.
Okay, yes, thank you. House Bill 455, Delegate Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 455 makes permanent the annual distribution to Ocean Downs Race Course for operating loss assistance from the purse dedication account. In addition, the bill authorizes an annual distribution equal up to $30,000 per live racing day, and also rather than the $1.2 million annually as provided in current law. There are no amendments. Move the bill.
Okay, any discussion on the bill? We are not going to do a roll call on this one. All in favor of the bill, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. House Bill 455 passes favorably with the chair voting yes. Okay, we're halfway through, people. We're moving along. I'm going to skip House Bill 461 and come back to it. House Bill 471, there are amendments. No. Yeah, 471.
471, okay.
Yeah, Delegate
Wasn't sure
Plakovich
if I
Carr.
misheard. Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill extends the termination date of the Regional Institution Strategic Enterprise RISE Zone Program by 2 years to January 1, 2030. The bill also extends the duration of a RISE zone designation from 5 years to 10 years. As introduced, the bill would have removed the limit on the number of zones that may be designated in a single county or municipality. The bill alters a related definition pertaining to the Maryland Economic Development Corporation, MEDCO, by explicitly including RISE zones. There are two amendments. The amendments, one, maintain the existing limit on the number of zones that may be designated in a single county or municipality, and two, require the Department of Commerce to conduct a study on the effectiveness of the RISE zone program. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And the amendments pass. Motion on the bill as amended. Favorable. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the bill as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, House Bill 471 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 508. Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill authorizes local governments to define who is a law enforcement officer or rescue worker for purposes of a local option property tax credit. Move favorable.
Any discussion on the bill? Okay, all in favor, no roll call, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. All right, the ayes have it. House Bill 508 passes favorably as amended. As our analysts are playing musical chairs up here. House Bill 515, Delegate Ebersol, and there are amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As amended, this bill will require the Maryland Center for School Safety to identify best practices for active shooter safety drills or training by October 1, 2023. Before the 2024-25 school year, the State Department of Education must take the best practices and incorporate them into any active shooter drills or trainings that are part of the annual scheduled drills. Effective immediately, active shooter training and drills are prohibited from including loud sounds, live role-playing of individuals role-playing out as an active shooter, or other activities that may cause trauma to students or staff. Parents must be made aware at the start of the school year which month the active shooter drills or trainings will occur in, and must be notified of the drills after they have taken place. Each school system must collect data on the effectiveness and psychological impact of the drills or trainings, which will be used by the Center for School Safety in collaboration with the Research Identity to study the drill's effectiveness and impact on the students and staff. Finally, the center, in consultation with the Department of State Police, must develop model content to inform students of the state's firearm storage laws. This model content must be distributed at the beginning of each school year to the parents. The amendments are in that bill. The amendments add the word trainings in addition to drills, require the Center for School Safety to develop the best practices to be adopted by MSCE. It also tasks the Maryland's Commission for School Safety with developing the model content that you heard about for current firearm storages and getting local education affiliates to distribute to parents in each year. So we moved those amendments, even though they were read as part of the bill.
All right, any second on the amendments? Okay, any discussion on the amendments? Delegate Buckle.
I had a question. I think it's on the amendments. I'm not quite sure, but I think it is.
They were a little mixed up there.
That's okay. You talked about the only issue for me that I want to just explore, the model content that will go out to the students' families about gun storage. Who is going to be responsible for developing that?
There's the Maryland Center for School Safety is a state-funded organization, and they will collect. There's not going to be any editorializing here. They're going to collect the laws and make sure that they send that out as when they send out the notification. They'll say, by the way, these are the laws for storing guns in the state.
I think that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of tragic situations where people don't do that correctly and bad things happen.
Little baby latches don't count, you know. So.
Yeah. Okay. Now that you're saying that the school safety people are doing it and it's not, there's no directive to it other than these are what the laws are and you should be aware of them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, we were going to give it to LEAs to decide, but we felt like there might be some editorializing by them, so we're going to let MCSS absolutely tell these are the laws for storage. And there may be some new laws if you look at what's going on in judiciary.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments on the amendments? Okay, I will do a roll call on the amendments. Madam Chair, yes. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson? Yes. Delegate Buckle? Yes. Delegate Charles? Yes. Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Yes. Delegate Fair? Yes. Delegate Long? Yes. Delegate Miller? Yes. Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Yes. Delegate Wu? Yes. Delegate Hartman? I'll get it together. Delegate Griffith? Yes. Delegate Attar? Yes. Delegate Plakovich Carr? Yes. Delegate Barnes? Yes. Delegate Feldmark? Yes. The amendments passed. Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move the bill as amended, Madam Chair. Second.
Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay. No roll call unless you eyeball me right now. Okay. All in favor of the bill as amended? You want a roll call? Oh, all in favor of the bill, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. And the chair votes yes too. Okay, House Bill 515 is voted favorably as amended. House Bill 525, and there are amendments. Delegate Plakovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill establishes an outdoor preschool license pilot program. There are a number of amendments that limit the number of providers that can participate in the pilot program, gives priority to certain providers, requires MSD to promulgate regulations, changes the reporting requirements from MSD, and extends the time frame for implementation. I move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendments, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. The amendments pass. Motion is on the bill as amended. Any discussion? Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know this was a bill that was very important in my district. I just wanted to check, especially with the limit on participation, were the schools that were advocating for it, their association, were they okay with the amendments?
Yes, we did run the amendments past them, and they were okay with it as amended. 5 to 10 providers will be able to participate. What we stripped out, which was what was in the original bill, what we stripped out was the ability for MSDE to add additional participants in subsequent years of the pilot.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And Madam Chair, after we vote, I'd like to be added.
Okay, so first we're going to vote. And we're doing a non-roll call. All in favor of the bill favorably as amended, please say aye. Aye. If you would like to be added on as a co-sponsor, please raise your hand. Okay, so that is, who's recording this? You? Who's recording this? Okay, so that is the Vice Chair, Delegate Ebersol, Delegate Hornberger, Delegate Wells, Delegate Charles is a latecomer, Delegate Fair, Delegate Miller, Delegate Vogel, Delegate Wu, Delegate Griffith, Delegate Attar.
Oh, wait, what? There's a late one.
Delegate Buckle. Delegate Buckle succumb to pressure, peer pressure, and Delegate Patterson. Okay, you okay? Do you need to do that again? Okay. All right, just for clarification, if the bill is amended, you can add your name as a co-sponsor. If there are no amendments, you cannot. Because we don't want to make extra work for our analyst. If we are doing a roll call, just say me too, and that means your name will be added as a co-sponsor of the bill. Okay, so House Bill 525 passes as amended with a whole bunch of new co-sponsors. House Bill 535 has amendments. The Vice Chair? Madam Chair? No? Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So House Bill 535 requires local boards of elections to begin canvassing of mail-in ballots 8 days before the start of early voting, codifies the ballot curing process for voters who fail to sign the ballot envelope, requires that the first legally sufficient ballot received from a voter be counted, and codifies the practice of reporting early absentee and provisional ballot results by precinct. The amendments require that mail-in ballots be sent to voters at least 43 days before an election if they are requested at least 60 days before the election. Allow a local board of elections to petition the state administrator for a waiver from the requirements to canvass mail-in ballots early if early canvassing would not be practicable due to limited resources or other reasons, and clarify that a local board may scan mail-in ballots before Election Day, but may not tabulate mail-in ballot results before the polls close on Election Day. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call on the amendments. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson? Yes. Delegate Buckle? Delegate Charles? Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Delegate Fair? Yes. Delegate Long? Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Delegate Wu? Delegate Griffith? Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich Carr? Delegate Barnes? Delegate Feldmark?
Yes.
The amendments pass. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, roll call. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson?
Yes.
Delegate Buckle?
No.
Delegate Charles? Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Delegate Fair? Delegate Long? Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Delegate Wu? Delegate Griffith? Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich Carr? Delegate Barnes? Delegate Feldmark? House Bill 535 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 538, and there are amendments.
House Bill 538 authorizes an income tax subtraction modification for the amount of federal, state, or local water affordability assistance received by an individual during the taxable year. It has two amendments. Amendment 1 adds a co-sponsor. Amendment 2 clarifies the information reporting requirements under the bill by requiring a unit of state or local government that administers a water affordability assistance program to provide the information on a quarterly basis to the comptroller rather than on request. Move the bill as amended.
You want to move the amendments?
Yes, move the amendment.
All in favor of the, any discussion? Anybody in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, please say nay. Okay, motion on the bill is amended. Okay, any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, there will be no roll call on this one. All in favor of the bill as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. House Bill 538 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 547A, Family Prosperity Act of 2023. Delegate Plakovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This administration bill permanently extends the temporary expansions to the Maryland Earned Income Tax Credit that were enacted in 2021 and eliminates a limit on the value of the refundable EITC for individuals without qualifying children. In addition, the bill permanently extends and expands eligibility for the Maryland Child Tax Credit. There's one amendment. The amendment clarifies provisions relating to the value of the Earned Income Tax Credit for individuals without qualifying children and limits eligibility for the Maryland Child Tax Credit to residents of the state. Move the amendment.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, I'm not going to roll call the amendments. All in favor of the amendments, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, the amendments pass. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Discussion on the bill as amended. Delegate Buckle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Delegate Pelakovich-Carr, I don't think this was changed during the amendments as you rolled through there. As you know, really the only philosophical objection that most members of my party would have to the bill is the inclusion of what we euphemistically call the I-10 recipients, which my understanding is some I-10 recipients, some I-10 filers are legally, here in the United States, they're operating under a variety of temporary visas or temporary authorized status, and some other I-10 filers are not here, permissibly at least. And we can debate, I don't want to go into that debate what their status is, but they're not here legally recognized to be here by the United States government. Do those I-10 filers continue to receive the enhanced EITC benefits under the bill?
You are correct, Delegate Buckle. The amendments do not change those provisions of the bill, so they remain in.
Okay, and I would simply suggest that, I really appreciate the meaning of the Earned Income Tax Credit. I appreciate Governor Moore's focus on attempting to end childhood poverty through measures such as this. Whether they meet the full measure of it or not, they're certainly a step in the right direction. But because of the ability to include the I-10 filers who are not legally recognized as having citizenship status or the ability to claim that under federal law, I think that myself and others may very reluctantly and sadly not support the bill, but I appreciate the committee's efforts in the endeavor.
Any other questions on the bill as amended? Delegate Pelakovich-Carr, question. Do the I-10 filers pay taxes?
Yes, they do, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
More than $100 million a year in income taxes alone.
Thank you. Okay, folks. Okay. My bad. Okay, so the bill is favorable as amended. The chair votes yes and says me too. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Eversole? Yes. Delegate Patterson? Yes. Delegate Buckle? Delegate Charles? Yes. Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Yes. Delegate Fair? Yes. Delegate Long? Delegate Miller? Yes. Delegate Henson? Delegate Miracle North? Yes. Delegate Grossman? Yes. Delegate Vogel? Yes. Delegate Wu? Yes. Delegate Griffith? Yes. Delegate Attar? Delegate Pelakovich-Carr? Yes. Delegate Barnes?
Yes, and me too.
Delegate Feldmark?
Yes.
House Bill 547 passes favorably as amended. Is that the governor's first one out? Woo!
Madam Chair, I want to know that I'm the first co-sponsor.
House Bill 572, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. House Bill 572 is a bill that requires a risk-limiting audit to be conducted of one statewide contest and one local contest in each county after statewide elections beginning in 2024. The bill requires that the pilot of risk-limiting audits be conducted in 2023. It repeals the existing manual audit of 2% of precincts that is conducted after certification of the election and makes the current automated software audit optional. We have passed this bill unanimously through the House several times, and the risk-limiting audits are viewed widely as the gold standard of auditing.
Not the gold standard. Okay. Is there a motion on the bill? Any discussion on the bill? Okay, no roll call on this one. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, please say nay. House Bill 572 passes favorably as amended. I'm sorry, there were no amendments, but it passes favorably. House Bill 680, and there are amendments. Who's doing this one? Delegate Charles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 680 increases from $9 million to $18 million the maximum amount of student debt relief tax credits for the Maryland Higher Education MHEC that they may approve for any taxable year. It also requires MHEC to annually reserve $9 million of the authorized credits for state employees, requires MHEC to prioritize tax credit recipients and amounts based on whether the taxpayers graduated from institutions of higher education where 40% of the attendees are eligible to receive federal Pell Grants, and it extends from 2 to 3 years from the close of the tax year for which a credit is claimed. The time frame within which the individual who claims the credit must use the credit for the repayment of the individual's eligible student loan debt. There are 2 amendments. The amendments reserves the $9 million of the student loan debt relief credits awarded each year for the state employees. It alters the prioritization of credit awards under this bill, and it also alters the time within an individual who claims the credit must use the credit for the repayment of the individual's student loan debt, and requires the Maryland Higher Education Commission to conduct outreach regarding the availability of the credit. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Delegate Henson?
Chair, I see that the amendments strike students that graduate from historically black colleges and universities and inserts schools where 40% or greater receive a Pell Grant. Do we know what those institutions are at this time that would qualify?
Yeah, I'll turn my button off, but George can respond.
We don't have a list of those institutions at this point in time, but I can see if we can obtain that for you. And one of the notes would be is that this is it's an entirely race-neutral measure to the degree that there were any concerns that by referencing HBCUs that might somehow be viewed as discriminatory in effect.
I understand. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion on the bill? Or that was the amendments. Yeah. Okay. All in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, is there a motion on the bill as amended? Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, roll call on the bill as amended. The Vice Chair?
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol?
Yes.
Delegate Patterson? Delegate Buckle? Delegate Charles? Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Wells? Delegate Fair? Delegate Long? Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Muir-Q North? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Vogel? Delegate Wu? Delegate Hartman? Oh, gosh. I know.
We keep waiting.
I know. Delegate Griffith? Delegate Attar? Delegate Plakovich-Carr? She said me too. Delegate Barnes? Delegate Feldmark? Yes. And the chair votes yes, and me too. I think I'm on that. I'm not sure, but me too. I'm on. I said me too. Okay. House bills. I know she's like. House Bill 680 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 689, move unfavorable. House Bill 689. Who has this?
I do.
Delegate Ebersol.
House Bill 689 requires that students enrolled in the Pathways to Technology Early College High, also known as P-TECH schools, will receive a diploma from the county board where the P-TECH school exists immediately upon completion of the county's high school graduation requirements, even if they have not finished the full 6-year P-TECH sequence. I have an emergency amendment to change the sponsor. No, I don't. There are no amendments. I move the bill favorable.
Okay. No roll call on this. Or is there any discussion first off? Okay, no discussion. All in favor of House Bill 689 as a favorable, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. House Bill 689 passes favorably. House Bill 706, and there are amendments. Delegate Barnes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bill establishes the Business Facade Improvement Program in the Department of Commerce to assist qualified businesses located in sustainable communities with improving an outside appearance of the qualified businesses, buildings, or facilities. Has two amendments. The amendments require the Department of Housing and Community Development rather than the Department of Commerce to administer the Business Facade Improvement Program established by the bill. And Amendment 2 expands the program to authorize municipality corporations to apply for funds and distribute grants under the program. Move the amendment.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. The amendments pass. Motion on the bill is amended. Any discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, no roll call on this. All in favor of House Bill 706 as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Okay, House Bill 706 passes favorably as amended. The last bill of the evening, House Bill 899, and there are amendments. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. HB 899, State Administrator of Elections Removal from Office. This bill requires that a state administrator be removed from office only for cause. That was the bill as it came in. It ensured that the person would have an opportunity to be removed. The amendments require that the state administrator serve a term of 4 years, which would start on August 1st. It requires that the deputy administrator would serve as state administrator if there's a vacancy in the office due to removal. The other amendment provides that an individual serving as administrator on June 1st may be appointed to the term that begins on August 1st if they are reappointed. I move the subcommittee amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? All in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion on the bill is amended. All in favor, I'm sorry, any discussion on the bill as amended? Delegate Buckle.
So the bill still has all the original stuff about we're eliminating this special exemption for the State Board of Elections administrators that they basically couldn't be removed without the consent of the state senate, essentially, as I recall.
Yes.
That's all still in the bill, that's all being,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you, delegates.
Yep.
So we're removing all of those extra and unnecessary protections for this particular office. And the amendments really just clarify the process that would take place this year, right?
Any other discussion? Okay, no roll call on this one. All in favor of the bill as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Okay, House Bill 899 passes favorably as amended. Great job, everyone. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Sorry, we will circle back to that at our next voting session. Yes, thank you.
And no